All right, we are going. Welcome to the webinar, everyone. I think we are recording. Joe, do you see that on your end?
Yes, I see a recording button.
Okay, and we are recording, right? Yeah, I think so. I see a little red dot flashing, so I'm going to go with that's recording. All right, as people filter in, we're at 71, and we'll probably get more. So just real quick, there are only 100 spots available, and we had a lot of people register for the webinar. So if you leave, you might not be able to get back. So just keep that in mind as more people are going to funnel in over the next 2 minutes here. So I'm going to do what I always do, make sure everything's working on my end by asking you, where are you from? Where are you coming in at? Because I get to see your name and where you are tuning in. I always like to make sure we're making it international. Joe kind of already checked that box for us right now. All right, Austin, Chicago, Alabama. Adam, what's up? Alberta, there we go. We're already there. Bahrain, yep. Ohio, Wisconsin, Kentucky, Maine, Scotland. Yes, crushing it. Pennsylvania, Milwaukee, New Jersey, San Antonio, Florida. More Florida, Denver. Hopefully everyone is doing well in Florida. A lot of craziness depending on where you're at in that state right now. Atlanta, Georgia, Connecticut, Kansas, Tucson. Yeah, Joe is so fancy. Alaska, England. Getting super international now. OKC, NYC, South Africa. Yes. So cool. I love technology. So we're at 96 participants, 98. We're going to cap out 99, 100. So it's 101. Maybe they're being nice. But we have officially capped out. So if you are here, like I said, you better stay, because if you leave, you might not be able to get back. So that's just my fair warning. So thank you, everyone, for coming to the webinar. We are going to get into it. I like to give everyone a few minutes to filter on, but it looks like we have plenty of people, so we are going to get started with the webinar. So what are we covering today? You know, it's kind of the same that we always go through. I'm going to give you some quick updates about Garage Gym Athlete, things that are new, different, what's the same, all of that good stuff, and even a personal update from a new fitness goal that I'm going to be trying to tackle over the next year. And then we'll go over the new testing, the new testing and the standards. So we have completely changed up our Fit Week. Anyone who may be new, so Fit Week is next week, and it's when we do our testing. We have a bunch of different tests, 15 specifically, that we like to test our athletes on over the course of 5 training days in a 7-day week to really find out where your holes are in fitness. And so I'm going to talk a lot more about that because they have changed. They've been the same for like 7 or 8 years, and we changed them. And so it's no small thing to change these standards up just because we've published the information in multiple places. We've created spreadsheets. We've done all this stuff. We've been testing people. So some of them are the same. Some of them are different, but it was a really big deal and decision to make this change. So that's the bulk of what the webinar will be about today. And then we will, of course, go over the track brief. So what you can look forward to in training over the next 12 weeks on each of our different tracks and kind of the goals of each one and what it would look like for you in your day-to-day training life. So let's get started. All right, here's the team, just in case anyone is new and they haven't been introduced to the team. That's me on the left. Then we have Joe, who is in Bahrain. He's like the chief operations officer. He keeps everything running smoothly and actually assists in that as well. Kyle is the lead coach we have. And then VD and Marco are some hardcore badass programmers. VD is in charge of the shred track, Marco, the endure track, and will even be helping out with some of the strength track this cycle as we get into it a little bit more. But that is the team. Any one of these individuals, awesome humans, can help you out in the Facebook group or via email at any time. If you need any help, don't hesitate to reach out to them or me included in that. Real quick on the podcast, just subscribe and review. I'd like to over communicate that there is a podcast. And if you are one of our Garage Gym Athletes, it's a great place to be because really, a lot of public podcasts are more tailored towards like just pushing broad information to lots of people. We've really tailored the Garage Gym Athlete podcast more specifically to people who follow our programming and do our programs because I don't know, it's more fun that way. It's better for the community. And so we go over a scientific study, typically some sort of a topic, and then we cover that week's Meet Yourself Saturday workout, whatever tips, tricks, or ideas we have to tackle it in the best fashion. My advice is typically pretty boring. It's like, just go faster, but everyone else normally gives some pretty good tips. Now, if I see Joe going into some stuff, I want to make sure that we clear up the admin side of the webinar. I almost forgot to do that right at the beginning. There's a Q&A section. Go ahead. If you have any questions, I don't pay attention to the chat much, especially after we get rolling into the meat of the content after the updates. And so if you have a question, please throw it in the Q&A section, and you'll be able to ask a question there and it'll get answered. Marco's here, VD is here, Kyle's here, Joe is here, so they can answer your questions fairly quickly without having to wait on me, because I will do questions like specifically Q&A at the end. And then at the very end, I will go over any questions that the team felt like I should hit on or go in more detail about, or if you have a specific question, we will have a dedicated Q&A time at the end of the webinar today. But feel free to add any questions to that Q&A section. And then if you have any shenanigans, those are reserved for the chat. So shenanigans in the chat, questions in the Q&A section. All right, first an update on the women's health track. So we run in the women's health track for a few cycles now, and we are actually going to take one cycle off. So a 1 cycle break. It's for a lot of reasons, but we will be taking one break from the women's health track to change a few things up and work on some of the back-end systems of the women's health track. And we'll be doing that over this next cycle. So we will be taking one break for the women's health track. 1 cycle break from the women's health track, so just an update there. We won't be pushing for this next 12 weeks, but we'll have a big push on the next one. If you guys have any questions about that, feel free to reach out about the women's health track. And if you want a good substitute for the women's health track, programming-wise, Shred Track is going to be your best bet. All right, next week is going to be getting into Fit Week. And I kind of already talked about what Fit Week is, and we'll be talking a lot more about that on today's webinar. But I use these same pictures every time because they're awesome, and I just love to see the PRs. You need to post a video in the Facebook group during Fit Week of a PR, not a benchmark, meaning you have actually PR'd something. You have set a personal record with our training, and you post that video in the group, and we will send you a shirt, either black or red. So black is if you get one single PR, we send you the PR shirt for free after video review and you've gone through the process. Red shirt is for 5 PRs. And I'm going to go over the new reward system one more time in a minute, just so we know about all the patches and those kind of things. But as far as PRs, this is next week. This is what we live for. All the PR videos we want to see next week. We want to see as many people post as possible in the Facebook group. This is a big part of the community. We get the question every time, what if I don't have a Facebook account? Create a fake Facebook account. Can I send you the video via email? Absolutely not. Not because I don't want to see it, because I want your progress to get other people motivated and the team motivated, everyone motivated, because they see you giving an effort, putting in that video in the community. It's a lot like, having to deal with this being fully virtual, but it's a lot like being in a gym and having people surround you as you hit that PR. So that's what we have to do with these PR shirts. They need to be posted in the Facebook group. Where do you do that? So if you see the Team Builder app, that bottom right-hand corner, you'll see 3 dots and it says More. And then you go to Documents and Links. There's a lot of things that you can access that some people don't know about, but this is where you can set your or submit your PR shirt if you have a PR shirt. So you can kind of do that right there. In the Documents and Links section, we have a couple other things in there as well. The EO3 elements, really big deal. If you want a downloadable version of that, click on that. Track changes. Now, this is a big one. If you have a lot of, you want to switch tracks, this is going to be the place to do it. And this is normally where things kick up as far as track changes for us as a team. Something that I also like for people to know, track changes are 100% manual. This is not something that you can just switch, flip-flop back and forth. Part of that's intentional, and part of that is just the way things are with Team Builder. But we kind of like it for not the switching can be difficult at times, but we like it because it kind of forces you to commit. Even though we will switch your track at any time, everyone's going to see the best results if you're on there for 12 weeks. So do that. This is where you do track changes. Now, next week is Fit Week. It's the same for every single track. So if you submit a track change over the weekend and you're like, I don't know, what track am I on? You're in Fit Week. Everyone's in Fit Week. No one's on like a dedicated track at that point because everyone's on the same thing. It would be the week after that when the new cycle starts that you would see the new programming start to kick in, and you'd see at the top of the app, it says strength track or shred track or hard to kill track. All right, if you have a goal, this is just a fun thing that we do. If you enter in your goal into here, you get an email series every week over the course of the entire cycle, reminding you of what your goal is specifically and motivating you to achieve that goal. So it is some built-in accountability for you right there if you want to get access to that. Also in documents and links. We put in some sleep habits there. If you need the substitution or conversion chart, this is a great way to do it. And if you are traveling and need some quick no gear workouts, grab them right there. All right, we're gonna get into my personal goal. I'm gonna take a sip of water. While I do, I just wanna see if anybody can even guess the personal goal that I'm going to attack over the next year. So throw this one in the shenanigans section of the webinar, which is gonna be the chat, and see what people think. Marathon Murph record. I knew there would be a lot of Murph guesses. Fastest Murph, 365 days of training, ultra marathon, row the Atlantic. 500-pound squat. All right. Ryan nailed it. It's over. Knew someone would get it. 500-pound back squat plus a sub 5-minute mile. That is what I will be going for over the next year. And so speaking of the fastest Murph, I actually still want to get that documented and try, but I really feel like this goal is only going to help in that pursuit, because if I can run a 4:55 mile, I'm sure Murph will be a lot more fun than it currently is. So this is what I'm going to be going over over the next year. And the reason I'm saying year is because I have no idea if I can actually achieve this goal, let's say at all. I've never back squatted 500 pounds. I've never ran a mile in under 5 minutes. So I don't know if it's possible, but I'm going to give it a try for a year, and I'll assess next September, October timeframe and see if I feel like, hey, should I push another year? Am I close? Am I anywhere close? So I'm going to commit to it to a year and see how close I do get. But that means I'm going to be going specifically training for an individual event, not necessarily trying to be well-rounded like on hard to kill track. And so there will be what we are calling internally BCT track at Garage Gym Athlete. We are reserving this, meaning you can follow the same programming that I'm following, because if anyone on our team wants to do something and there's not a track for it, then basically we need to create that track, because we don't want to go outside of the lines for Garage Gym Athlete. I'm going to be still doing all the programming for the BCT track. Boring concurrent training is what BCT stands for. Boring concurrent training. What this is going to look like is going to be squatting probably 3 times per week, 2 to 3 times per week. Some of the programming is already written, and definitely running 2 to 3 times per week. And now just know this is a little bit more geared and catered towards where I'm at currently in my fitness, but I'm happy for people to follow along. I would like to reserve this for people who've gone through the EO3 coaching course or veteran members of Garage Gym Athlete. So meaning you've been around for like a year or more is what I'd like to do, just because the programming is not going to be as polished. And I think anyone who's even thinking about it should know that is not going to be near as polished as our other tracks, because, you know, this is initially built for me, but we're happy to have other people join in the fun. So yeah, that's what we're doing. And that the main reason I want to let you guys know about it. Hey, helps. I just told a lot of people about it. Now I'm accountable to a goal that I'm going to try and do over the next year. And we have a track that can get other athletes involved in a very similar goal. So that's what I'm going to be going for. All right, quick review from last time. This is Garage Gym Athlete, the parent company, End of 3 Fitness, and this is our training methodology, concurrent training. All the tracks are concurrent training, just so there's no confusion. We do have different tracks for different goals, stretch, strength, hard to kill, all this stuff, but it's all concurrent training. It's just all a different version of concurrent training with slightly more emphasis or less emphasis on certain things in each track. Then we have body geometry, which happens every 4 weeks. every 4th week, really balancing out the athlete, making sure that you are safe, healthy, and optimal. And the EO3 elements, it's in the app every single day, making sure you check off all 9 of those things that are going to be the prerequisites for your success. Those 3 things together are what develop and make up for our training. And this is what it looks like, concurrent training. Every month, you're going to see 3 weeks progressing you towards the goal. That 4th week will be body geometry, and the EO3 elements should just be every single day. So this is what our training is. And I want to also go over the reward system I covered last time, because a lot of these things are finally going to start to be kicking up. People are going to start to be eligible for some of this stuff. So I already talked about it. You submit a video in the Facebook group, an actual PR that's verified. You're in for a cycle. You get a free black PR shirt, 5 video PRs, entire cycle. You get a free red PR shirt. And now there is the PR patch. So it is 10 video PRs over the course of the lifetime of your Garage Gym Athlete account. If you hit 10 video PRs and you have them all, you are now eligible for the PR patch. After that, we have the MYS, the Mental Toughness Practitioner. This is, you have completed 10 Meet Yourself Saturday workouts. We are finally going to put this into the app, so you guys will be able to purchase these. These are not free. These are ones that you will have to purchase. And so it is 100% an honor system. But as I say in a lot of these webinars, I don't really care if someone lies about whether or not they've done this thing, because if you have an integrity problem, you have a much bigger problem than anything I should be concerned about as a coach. So 10 Meet Yourself Saturdays completed following the honor system. These are for purchase. It's really the only one that we have for purchase. And these will be available this cycle. The Killing Comfort patch, we just got through finishing all the Killing Comfort orders over this last cycle, because long story short, team builder reporting not working at all for us. And that is that's what we use. We pull reports from team builder to see attendance, to see completion, all these things. And none of it was working the whole cycle. It's still not working. We had to develop a workaround to even be able to process Killing Comfort patches. So that is still going on. And Joe, I didn't put the screenshot in here, but Joe showed me. There was someone who got 79.88% completion over the last cycle. And I'm pretty certain Joe denied that person. So when I say strict rules, I mean strict rules on Killing Comfort patches. I don't like to make the judgment calls. I let Joe be the stickler, because I don't like to be the bad guy. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he denied that person. I won't name any names of who it was, but you got denied a Killing Comfort patch because you almost did it. You didn't do it all the way. So 80% over the cycle, really strict rules, and it is free. It is one of the hardest patches to get, but not the hardest, because this is the hardest one to get. This is the Killing Comfort Ace patch. This means you've maintained 80% consistency over 5 cycles. Essentially, you earned 5 different Killing Comfort patches. Again, very strict rules. You miss it just by a percent, you got to go an entire another cycle to get it. And this one is 100% free. No one's eligible to get this one yet, because we just started this one, but I think this cycle might be where people can start doing it. Some more information will roll out on that. All right, new testing and standards. So I feel like I could talk about this for an hour by itself, but we got to get through it a little bit faster if I'm going to hit everything in the given time frame. So why do we do Fit Week? So this is kind of the fitness continuum I created years ago, and it's the method we teach. It's the method we implement. And we call it going from healthy to harder to kill. I have a video on YouTube about it as well that explains it in more detail if you guys ever wanted to watch it. And I know some of you have already seen it. But we think a healthy person, after you've established your habits and you're consistent, a healthy level of fitness is people doing sub-maximal effort method and oxidative conditioning. So that just means they're lifting some weights. Maybe it's not that heavy, but they're getting it done, and they're doing some aerobic conditioning. We think you're pretty fit if you're doing the sub-maximal effort method, so just lifting weights, and you're doing that oxidative conditioning, just doing some aerobic stuff, but you're occasionally hitting some max efforts, and you're also doing some phosphagen conditioning, which can be, lower bouts of resistance training. It also could be super short intervals on the Airdyne. And then we go to harder to kill. Now, you don't have to be on the harder to kill track to go through the full continuum. This is just a term we've always used. So you're hitting the sub-max effort, the max effort method, dynamic effort, moving quickly and explosively, oxidative, so that aerobic conditioning, phosphagen conditioning, that low-end power, and then glycolytic, that painful, it's so awful, those 3-minute bouts, those 2-minute bouts that just make you want to puke, whatever your movement is, like a run or a row or airdyne. And so what we developed a long time ago, also to coincide with this, were 15 different tests that we thought fit really well with testing all of these different methods really well. But over time, Garage Gym Athlete has evolved, and we've had to, we've gotten feedback from athletes and what people are testing, what we're actually programming. So we decided to finally make some changes after cycle, getting just some feedback and realizing we should probably make some changes. So these are the current standards. This is everything that we have and that we've been testing over the years. So let's go over what we're getting rid of. We will not test the clean anymore. So no clean. Sorry if I upset anybody. We will not be testing the clean. Let's see what else we're getting rid of. You could probably guess. The snatch is gone. We will not be testing the snatch. And just so everyone knows, we haven't really been testing the clean or snatch for a while. We even started to label them as optional in the past cycles. And once I kind of realized that, hey man, if we're gonna make them optional, like why are they even here still? Can we test this in other ways? And the answer was we can. Getting rid of the jerk, and the jerk, this wasn't one that I'm necessarily getting rid of because it's more in the Olympic lifting zone. It was just the execution, after seeing a lot of videos from athletes, wasn't great, but also there was some confusion on what would constitute a jerk and push jerk and all these other things. So we've just removed it to make it a little bit easier to test. And 2,000 meter row, it's still here, but it has changes to the test. So you guys will see that. We got rid of the 1.5 mile run. You'll see what we have in its place and why. And the 500 meter row, just like the 2,000 meter row, has some changes. And we got rid of the 400 meter sprint. So the sprint is not there anymore. A big reason getting rid of that 400 meter sprint. I don't like people pulling their hamstrings. I'm sure you guys don't like pulling your hamstrings. And I feel like that was some of the feedback we were getting was people testing the 400 meter sprint, going, at 100 meter sprint pace for 400 meters, and they pull their hamstring because they have a desk job. A lot of us have desk jobs, and that's fine. But I didn't feel safe testing or giving this anymore. It's the same reason we don't really do bench press. Not because I don't think bench press is a good movement. I think bench press is a great movement. But I don't want to be responsible for thousands of athletes testing a max weight bench press by themselves in their garage once every 12 weeks. I didn't want to be the person with that on my shoulders. So we don't test bench press for that reason. We get that question a lot. All right, so here are the standards. So this is everything we kept. You see work time at the top there. We don't talk about it much, but it really is just this is something you kind of have to test on your own. We could you go on a hike for 4 hours? Could you do a 3-hour Spartan race, a 2-hour Spartan race, depending on what level you want to be at, whether that's competitor, established, or recruit. So the work time, we don't ever test just because I'm not going to go ask you to do something for 4 hours. But I like to test this at least once a year by doing, like a 100-mile bike race is something I generally do when there's not a pandemic. Also, Spartan race, same. Generally do a Spartan race each year when there's not a pandemic. So most every other year in my life except for this one. So those are the tests. And just so if anybody's new, we have competitor level, you'll see, and then we have female competitor level. Then we have established, and then we have female established. Then we have recruit and female recruit. And you can score below recruit. That would just mean you need to try and get to recruit. That's all that means. All right, so let's reveal the first new test. Hand release push-ups have been added to the new testing standards. So hand release push-ups, simply where you're doing a push-up and you release your hands off the ground. So you have to lift your hands up, and it's hand release push-ups in 60 seconds. So how many hand release push-ups can you do in 60 seconds? That is the first new test. And you'll see, like I said, the competitor established and recruit levels for both male and female are all listed there. Next, this is the change to the 2,000 meter row test. It now becomes one element. And I'm not really saying you can pick. I'm saying if you don't have a rower, you have other options. Because if I let you pick, no one would do the 2,000 meter row. So you can do whatever you want. But I think if you have a rower, you should row. Come on. Like, let's kill some comfort. If you have a rower, row. Don't opt out because you're not. But being that this is Garage Gym Athlete and every single person we have on the podcast says they want a rower because they don't currently have one. I know a lot of our athletes do have a rower as well. But if you don't have a rower, which is a lot of Garage Gym Athletes, how do we expect to appropriately test you? So all the time domains stay the same for the 2,000 meter row. And if you have a bike erg, 4,000 meter bike erg, and then the 105 rep burpee test. So what is that? It's pretty simple. You're going to do 105 burpees as fast as you can. And if you can do that in less than or equal to 7 minutes, you're at the competitor standard for that test. Not an easy thing to do, but that is the new standard for that testing zone. So you only do one of these. You don't test all three. You either do the 2,000 meter row, the 4,000 meter bike erg, or the 105 rep burpee test. If you guys if you have any questions, add those and I'm sure we can get them answered. But yeah, that is the next new change. And then another similar one for all the same reasons. Basically, if you don't have a rower, I don't want to punish you for not having a rower. So 500 meter row or a 1,000 meter bike erg. And if you don't have either one of those, it is a 25 rep burpee test. If you can do 25 burpees in less than 1 minute and 35 seconds, you are at the competitor level and you see the rest of the standards listed there. All right. Next, the broad jump. So we're bringing the broad jump into the testing because we got rid of Olympic lifting. What is Olympic lifting? Olympic lifting is the ability to be explosive and open up the hips. There's a huge technical component to Olympic lifting. That holds everyone back. And this is part of the reason we got rid of some of it because Olympic lifting is like golf. I'm not arguing that there's no benefit to Olympic lifting. I'm saying it's like golf and that it takes years and years and years to master. And then even after years and years and years, you still have a lot to learn. It's just like golf. So how could we help athletes train to be more explosive, get triple extension, and be, awesome athletic human beings without having to do the snatch and clean and jerk? The broad jump was the answer to that. The broad jump can do all of those things just as well. The only thing it doesn't have is load, but you don't need load if you're just trying to be explosive because you can train this in a lot of different ways. So the broad jump, and you see the standards there, greater than 9 feet for males at the competitor level and 7 feet for females, and it just goes kind of down from there. That is the broad jump. So great test. And we also have a podcast being published on Monday. We just recorded where we talk about the standards again. And I go into a lot more details and tips and tricks on that podcast too. So make sure you listen to the podcast on Monday to get these standards covered in even more detail. All right. Next is a plate jump. So we have 9 inches for a competitor on the plate jump. And some people might be asking what the plate jump is. We program this from time to time. So the plate jump is where you are basically you're kneeling, you're on your knees and sitting on your heels or your ankles. So you're completely like in that saddle position. And then you have to jump up, explode your hips and jump to land on the ground. If you can land on the ground, that is 0 inches. You're at the recruit level. And then plates for males would be if you can land on 5 inches worth of plates, 5 inches greater than or equal to 5 inches. And then competitor level jumps up quite a bit to 9 inches. So being able to land that plate jump at the 9-inch level. And I see a lot of people loving and hating plate jumps. And this is it. You probably feel the same way about these jumps as you do Olympic lifting. Like they are very much matched, these two, for a lot of the Olympic lifts, with the ability to be explosive with those hips and that athletic ability. So it's something that we can train and get better at. And this is one of the new tests we have here. All right, 2 more. We have taken the 1.5 mile run and turned it into the 1 mile run. And there's a big reason for that. And when I first had the 1.5 mile run in the programming, it's because all the research on a test that correlated to VO2 max, everything was at the 1.5 mile run. But we're talking, 7-8 years ago. And so I've done a lot more research and looked a lot more And the 1 mile run now has huge correlation effects to your VO2 max. And so we are now using those. And that's actually how we came up with the standards. There are equations that you can use to find out different mile times and how they correlate to your predicted VO2 max. And so we use those equations to come up with these standards, because if I just pulled them up out of thin air, to be honest, I probably would have made them a little bit faster. So this is, competitor is less than or equal to 6 minutes and 12 seconds for the competitor at the 1 mile pace. And then you see it kind of goes up from there. But we are doing the 1 mile run. VD pointed out to me that we're pretty much trying to keep the same pace as the 1.5 mile run. But, you know, it is a half a mile distance less. So I feel like you can keep the same pace, but for a little bit less distance. I'm hoping that the 1.5 mile run becomes more encouraging. Like you feel like you can achieve these different levels a little bit more so, because the 1.5 mile run was far out of reach for a lot of people just from the actual data I could see or pull on our end. All right, last one. And this is like a no-brainer. I don't know why we haven't tested it before. The front-leaning rest. We do front-leaning rest all the time. So now we have a standard for it. And also great for core, because, you know, we have back squat, front squat, all these other things that test your core strength, but not a true test of the core. So we have front-leaning rest. Competitor level is greater than or equal to 4 minutes and 31 seconds holding that front-leaning rest position. So welcome to the new standards. This is everything that we have, and really looking for feedback. And I'm most excited about all of you going to test these things next week. So next week when we get into the new Fit Week, seeing how we've laid things out and done all that is going to be great. And then I can pull some data and see how things are going. Because one thing I haven't done, and I just want to address real quick, our previous standards we had it broken down male, female, just like this, but then we also had age brackets. And I can't create age brackets out of thin air. I have to get data first. So we don't have any age brackets right now for any of this stuff. And so we might, after everyone tests at the end of next week, if it looks like we need to create age brackets, we will. But if we don't, we won't. So that's kind of where we are at age brackets. I'll pull everybody's data from age and see how different age groups are doing at different levels. And so we'll look at those things. But we do not have age brackets set up yet. What about my PR shirt? This is just in case anybody was like, oh man, I really want to submit a snatch video for my PR shirt. So those aren't tested anymore. They're just not in Fit Week at all. But I don't think it's going to be a problem. If you are a person who's going to run into this issue, let us know. Be like, hey, I was planning on doing the 1.5 mile run this time around or whatever. Let us know. We might do a case-by-case basis, but I don't think it'd be many people, because just of PR videos that we've had submitted, they're typically things like the row or the deadlift, the squat, the press, and strict pull-ups and dips. Those things are all still there. So like 99% of what we get PR videos for are all still being tested. So it shouldn't screw anybody up too much. But if someone does feel like it screwed them up, let us know, and we'll see what we can do. Now, are there going to be new spreadsheets? I'm going to give you a maybe. I don't know if we're going to do new spreadsheets, because we have gamified it in the app, and you will see this next week. So here's what it looks like. So each day is going to have a set number of points every single day in Fit Week. So it'll be, every event is worth essentially 3 points up to competitor. 0 would be incomplete, 1 is recruit, 2 is established, 3 competitor. And you get to go through and mark how you scored. And we actually have the actual the standards listed in the app now, so you don't have to pull up a spreadsheet or anything to look. You'll just be like, oh, front squat, what are the standards? Okay, this much percent of my body weight. You can just see everything in the app now without having to pull up spreadsheets or, you know, all these other things. Everything should just be in the app. And then on the last day, on Saturday, I really don't want anybody to miss this. On Saturday, there will be a Fit Week tracking total. And so this is how we're doing it now. That way you can track your progress. We can track your progress more easily to actually see if you're at established, recruit, competitor level. But the way the points worked out, we did less than or equal to 15 points recruit. Really 16 to anything below competitor is established, but we denoted it as established and established plus. Established plus means you got basically everything in established and a few things probably in competitor. So we're just calling that established plus. And then you really need a perfect score, 45 points to be a competitor. So that is the new scoring system. make sure you fill those things out because it'll be cool for you to track and see those things in the app. And it's also great for us to be able to pull reports and see what percentage of our athletes are where. It makes things a lot easier for us as well on our end. Cool. So that is it. We will get the track briefs going. Get another sip of water here. All right, we start with shred. So shred is our body composition track. VD is your mastermind. Best for first, yeah. VD is your mastermind here. So he put together this shred cycle. The overview, just going to read them off for you guys. This program is an even balance between muscle hypertrophy, concurrent training work capacity, and strength. If you do have any questions about the shred track, VD is here. So you can ask him right here in the Q&A section or chat, whatever is going to work. I don't think VD is on the panelist side team. So that's my fault. If you do have a question, you could probably ask VD in the chat if it's specific to that. So what does it look like? Athletes can expect strength-focused lift and longer metabolic conditioning sessions, as well as sessions which combine the two. Also, a decrease in rest times will dual role as additional conditioning and aid in hypertrophy development. These rest times are deliberate. Don't add any extra rest. I'll know. I'm always watching. That was my favorite part when I read his looks like. So VD is always watching. He's very big brotherish. He will know if you're resting too much. But this is the track brief for shred. This is what the overview is and what you can expect. So again, any questions, shoot him over to VD. He is here. Endure. So this is Marco's awesome program. We had a meeting about it, and so I'm going to talk about some of this stuff. Again, I've talked about how awesome VD and Marco are at programming, and I just want to echo that every time we get on a webinar. The level of precision that these guys have and what they put out is phenomenal. I'm very impressed every time I get to see their programming when we're coming into new cycles. All right, so the goal for this Endure track is to be endurance plus interval training. So the overview in this cycle, the Endure track will be aiming to build on the previous one by continuing to concentrate on training athletes aiming towards relentless and conditioned strength and endurance, allowing them to switch between long and short sessions while maintaining intensity and building their resiliency. The endurance programming will shift its concentration between long duration interval training, short duration interval training, body geometry, and strength training to form failure in 3 to 4 week blocks with targeted and increasing intensity. So he put it all caps and underlined it. I think that's even bold, and I think that we should all look at that. Form failure. And because we went back and forth on this because there is a lot of benefit to training to failure, but it is exercise dependent. And so Marco's been very careful about the exercise he selects. But man, anytime you've seen the word failure, you got to think pain. And I'm okay with like telling you what's going to suck on, like, most of the time I think that'll deter people from a track, but I think it attracts you guys more towards it sometimes. It sounds like, because I won't be executing it, but if I were to be doing the Endure track, it sounds like it's going to suck in the best ways, if that makes sense. It's going to be a really, like, he's using all of the things from a programmer's toolbox to make sure that you're going to see results. It just will be painful in the process. And so if you're on the Endure track, I'm really looking forward to the results that you will see in following that 12 weeks cycle. So what does it look like? This track will make use of different tools and energy systems training, from bodyweight movement and sample aerobic work to more complex work requiring a rucksack, backpack with fillers, sandbags, kettlebell or dumbbell, barbell, and plates, and vest if available, and long and short metabolic conditioning training sessions. So we like to put in the looks like, just so you can kind of see what your training will look like on a daily basis. You're already going to get to see the sample programming that we provide every single time, right? So you're going to get to see what the actual, okay, I saw the words or I read the words, like what does that look like? So you'll get to see that as well. But that is the Endure track. The strength track, 100% raw strength. So Marco and I are combining efforts on the strength track this cycle. But here's what we're going to be doing. The cycle will utilize every method of strength we can utilize in there twice. So you know it's important over this 12-week period. It's going to be a very challenging cycle, and here's the flow it's going to follow over the 12-week nature. It's going to be tempo, followed by dynamic, followed by max effort. And I really, for those of you who are strength athletes and you know what all those things mean, then you need to know what you're getting yourself into as well, following the strength track. You're going to start with tempo. Ouch. Tempo is not fun. Then you're going to get into dynamic, which is a lot of explosive stuff to kind of give you a break from that super heavy stuff, and then max efforts. And so what this looks like, the strength track, the cycle focus on time under tension and dynamic efforts. So those tempo, putting a lot of time under tension with the barbell, going to get you a lot stronger. Also focusing on that explosive element, making sure that you are dynamic in your lifting. Progressively challenging tempo-based lifts will begin in the first wave and conjunction with lighter load quick lifts. After the phase in, training will begin to utilize max effort at different rep schemes. So that could just be, instead of a 1 rep max test, which really you won't see much of, you'll see 3 rep max, 5 rep max, 7 rep max. And it's training maxes. We're not looking for you to, have any form failure or anything like that. Just max effort for that day. And lifts will rotate and the stimulus will never get boring. Conditioning will be short interval or long with load. So those are the 2 different types of conditioning you'll see on the strength track, meaning you're going to see those shorter dynamic, not the painful intervals, but 20-second, 30-second bursts, stuff like that. And then when we go long, it will be carrying a load. So walking with a vest or ruck, something like that. Hard to kill. So, the goal is always to be hard to kill. This is the hard to kill track. The method will not change. 13 areas of training will be hit every 30 days in every single way. This is always the strength track. The goal of the strength track is to not focus. We do not focus on anything in particular, but we will take an emphasis. So while all 13 of those areas will hit, there will be an emphasis on structured strength and controlled mixed modal work this cycle. So I'll explain that a little bit more. This cycle, you will see very structured strength protocol along with more mixed modal work than usual. So we normally always have some sort of mixed modal work in there, but there's also a lot of interval training, monostructural interval training, meaning just running, just biking, just rowing. But you're going to see a lot more mixed modal. Mixed modal, for lack of a better term, people like to say it's CrossFit. Oh yeah, you're doing a couple different exercises back to back. Well, no, it's not CrossFit. We could get into that conversation, but we're going to be doing a lot of sustainable and repeatable mixed modal work, meaning I want you to do some efforts and then I want you to rest for a long period of time. Then I want you to do the efforts again and see how sustainable and repeatable you are. So you see a lot more mixed modal training. So we want you to increase your strength and functional work capacity. So you're going to see a lot more grunt work, which is that mixed modal training I'm talking about, heavy lifting. And so when I say structured strength protocol, it's going to be very structured this cycle. Sometimes it's not, it wouldn't appear as structured, I would say, from maybe the athlete's perspective. There's always something that we're trying to do specifically with the strength programming, or I am trying to do because I'm the one who programs Hard to Kill. But this one will be very structured for most of the cycle. So you can have like a strength expectation to hit some big lifts at the end of this one, not to step on the strength track toes, so to speak, because this one, if you are a strength athlete, you're going to want to be on the strength track. But if you want to hit some, these mixed modals are typically aerobic in nature, longer duration, and suck pretty bad. Not a friend to the most dedicated strength athletes. So yeah, more grunt work, heavy lifting, and like I said, slightly less dedicated intervals. So you won't see as many dedicated intervals like 3 minutes on, 3 minutes off. Those you'll see them, but not as much as you normally would in a hard to kill training cycle. So that's what that is, and you can actually see that when we give the sample programming. And that is my next slide. So sample training. I'll send it out tomorrow in 5 Line Friday. You can also access it right now, garagegymathlete.com/2020. It is open. You guys can check it out. Cool. I got through that faster than I thought I was going to. So questions, I'm going to go to the Q&A section. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and start throwing those in. All right. Lauren says, I'm looking at picking up a MMA fight a couple of months from now. Not sure which track I should be on. I'm currently on Enduro, but I'm thinking about switching to HK and then switching to strength once I start camp. Not sure what is best. So I would go with hard to kill, just because you're going to see a lot more glycolytic conditioning in hard to kill. That's specifically why I'm pointing you this direction. And hard to kill will have the most glycolytic conditioning in it. And that's a lot of what MMA kind of is, that isometric holds. And like, that's why a lot of people get exhausted in MMA when they first start, is because they don't know, they didn't realize they haven't been training an entire energy system their whole life. And so they get really shattered when they start doing it. So I would do hard to kill. Let's see. There will not be a BCT sample, but I can just tell you. So the boring concurrent training track, the one I'm going to be following, it will be 6 days a week. It will be 3 days of squatting with accessory work. And this will change, obviously, because I'm doing it for a full year, right? So I have a big picture plan for the year. But for the next 12 weeks, you will see 3 days of squatting with accessory work. The accessory work would be would cover all the other muscle groups, because we're not going to be deadlifting. We'll do some pressing, but not a ton, just to be clear on the BCT track. So there will be that. And then there'll be 3 days of running, and it'll be long run, interval run, and another interval run, those 3 days. So 6 total days of training per week. I would say that second interval track day would be optional if you were to follow it, if you want to stick to 5 days training, if you're joining me on the BCT track. So yeah, the BCT track's going to be a lot of squatting and accessory work and running. So it's all the fun things. All right, let me go through any of the dismissed questions. Is there anything I need to cover, Joe, that you think I should check?
All the questions are pretty simple, I think.
Okay, cool. And I won't go through all of them. I'll look into open. You said there won't be a women's health track and that Shred Track is best alternative. Can you say why? Yeah. Let's see. The women's health track is a really great resource. And the people who run the women's health track are Ashley and Emily. So Emily is my wife, and Ashley is on the team. And we have decided that we want to get things a little bit more dialed in, like collectively, from the programming to how it ties in with your nutrition, and how that ties in with the coaching, because it feels a little bit disjointed at the moment, and we want to get that really dialed in for everyone. And there are also some other team reasons, and those will be shared with you guys over time. But the real big answer is what I just said, is making sure that they work in conjunction a little bit more, to make sure, because the results we've seen with the women's health track have been awesome. It's not like it's not working or we don't like it. We just want to perfect it a little bit more. And to be able to do that, it's going to take a lot of us all working together. And so that's what we're going to have to do, and just take some time off to do it. We might even be able to start at the 6-week point. That was something we threw together, but we didn't want to throw any athletes off, because we don't need a full 3 months to do it. We just don't want to screw up anybody's training by being ready in 4 weeks or 6 weeks or something like that. So that's the answer for Abby. James says, are you going to discuss the fuels course a bit? Yeah, so a lot of emails will be going out about the fuels course, just so you guys are all aware. But I'll talk about it in general terms right now. All the emails will be going out starting next Monday for the entire week. And it's going to give you a lot of educational materials and just stuff to read through, quizzes to take. Like, we have a lot of stuff we put together for the fuels course, but big overview of the fuels course and why it's in existence. Nutrition. I don't like nutrition dogmatism. So like, hey, you should be vegan because it's the best way, or you should be paleo because it's the best way. I don't even actually have any of those beliefs. I just have what works for me. And I don't want to say what works for me is what should work for everyone else. But where there's no disagreement in nutrition is bioenergetics, how your body utilizes different macronutrients as fuel. So how your body processes and utilizes fat, how your body processes and utilizes carbohydrates, the purpose of protein in your body. And so we teach you in a very individualized approach what you should be eating before a workout to perform, what you should be doing post-workout, how this looks over the course of your day for optimal mental performance, how to avoid some of those pitfalls. So we really dive into fuels, bioenergetics. I don't like to use bioenergetics too much because it kind of scares people. Like, oh, am I taking like a college course? Like, no, that's just what it's called. And the information is very easy for everyone to understand and go through. But it's our best attempt at giving someone a really individualized approach to their nutrition, without having to, hey, like go be vegan or do this or whatever, because you can be any diet and follow the fuels course. It's just up to you to figure out how to get the macronutrients we're talking about to perform at these different levels. And it really can significantly increase how you perform after you go through the fuels course, because you'll have better understanding. Now, what does the actual execution look like? It's really 3-4 weeks in length. We'll go 4 weeks. So what we do, not next week, but the week after, we'll kick off on a Thursday with our first live call. So you go through a week's worth of information, which has a webinar and a bunch of other videos, a workbook, all these things. You go through it, and then you hop on a live call with us to get your questions answered, talk more about some of these concepts. You do that for several weeks. And then at the end, you actually take a couple of easy, I'm not going to call the fitness tests easy, let's say simple fitness tests, and you submit them to our team. After you submit those fitness tests to our team, we start to help you dial in your macronutrients and your fuels for performing at the highest level, given your actual performance based off of the test we give you. So that is the fuels course in its entirety. Really awesome. We've had phenomenal feedback. And just so you know, anyone who, I think this is clear, but if you have done the fuels course previously and you need a refresher, you want to hop back on these calls or whatever, you're absolutely open to it. Once you're in for life, so you can come back anytime, and you guys will get those emails as well. So Ryan says, will there be visibility on the BCT track, or are you just doing this on the side? I guess I'm doing it on the side. What do you mean by visibility? Yeah, there's no sample programming for it, but I could tell you it's a lot of squatting, a lot of running. If you guys want to see a screenshot of it or something, I could probably just throw that in the Facebook group so you guys can see it. And I'll show it to you guys. All right. Did I miss anything else? All right. It looks like we're good. I saw some stuff about the Killing Comfort patch. So I do want to apologize for the timing of the last Killing Comfort patch, how long that took to get processed. Very unfortunate occurrence, but we kind of had to formulate a new process. And it's way more time intensive for our team to do it the way we have to do it now. So we got to find a new way for going on. Murph, on the option of day, you think, for BCT? Yeah. And see, that's what I'm curious about, because I think you guys knew, and I've talked about this a little bit before, I really wanted to try and get the fastest recorded Murph time. But the more I got into do I want to train specifically for having the fastest Murph time? The answer is no. It just doesn't excite me. I'm not doing it every Saturday or whatever. That's fine. But a dedicated training program to do that sounds ridiculously boring. Not that, I'm going on a boring track, but it just sounded awful. I just didn't want to do it at all. But this, I think if I could run a really fast mile and squat a lot and occasionally do Murph, it'd probably only help me get faster at Murph. So I'm not saying that I'm out of the running for trying to do something like that, but it's not my main goal. I want my main goal to be something a little bit different. How do you optimize the selection for 3-block? What is the overall goal? Oh yeah, sorry, I did not cover that. 3-block follows hard to kill 100%. And so what I do when I program 3-block is I program hard to kill first, and then I look at the stimulus 3-block is and is not seeing. So it's not just okay, cut it at 30 minutes. I'm actually looking at the systems we are training at 3-block. So there's still a lot of thought that goes into 3-block, because I really have to look, and some workouts have to be recreated for 3-block and stuff to make sure it fits and make sure that we're seeing enough stimulus in the different areas. So we create hard to kill, and then I make sure that 3-block is going to see the same 13 areas of training that hard to kill does over those 30 days. They just kind of, sometimes they see it in a little bit different order. The days are a little bit different. Workouts are a little bit shorter sometimes than hard to kill, but the exact same focus is hard to kill. It's just what we do or how I do it. Seems like you have some time, so I've been reading about the carnivore diet and trying to get more info. I know you did it once and posted info on it, but I can't find it. What was your thoughts on it, results or opinion? I have done vegan. I've done basically everything. I've done keto. I have not done straight carnivore where I'm only eating meat. I have done a ketogenic diet, but no, I've never done the carnivore diet. Like I said, I don't like to throw stones at any kind of diet. Carnivore would probably be the hardest one for me to do because just the lack of carbohydrates. I've seen a lot of great anecdotal stuff on carnivore. It hasn't been heavily studied yet, unfortunately. I think always have a reason why you're doing something with an expectation when you go into it. Like, what are you trying to achieve by being carnivore? And have that thing as a measuring stick when you do it. That way, if you do it for 12 weeks and you don't like it, you'll know why. You'll have something to go through. But I think any diet's worth a shot. Could you name the 13 areas for the crew? Oh man, I absolutely could. You guys put me on the spot. If you give me like 2 seconds, I'll pull them all up for you because I'm going to jack it up if I try and do it. Can you guys still see my screen? Here we go. Let me. Well, no, I'm not going to pull them up right now. Let's see if I. Marco, do you have a programming sheet accessible you could send me in Slack with the 13 areas? I'll answer some other questions while maybe we can grab one of those. It'd be one of the monthly templates where I have the 13 areas on the side. If you have it, Marco, awesome. If you don't worry about it, but I'll get to that one in a second. Christy, okay, awesome. Thanks, man. Christy, do all tests need to be videoed to count as a baseline? No, they don't. So the baseline you can enter in the app after you do it for the first time, and then we just need a PR after the fact in the video. So when you do that retest, because it goes from baseline to PR. Brian says, what makes not training for the fastest Murph time different than training for a sub 5 and 500-pound back squat? So just looking at the actual programming, things that happen, the things that break down in Murph when you're trying to go fastest in the world it's muscular endurance. So how fast can you do push-ups? And trying to cycle those as fast as you can. Then the other things that start to break down, lower back. Your lower back start to break down if you have even the slightest slant on your slightest slant of your upper body when you're doing the air squat, and then getting those fastest mile times. So what you're trying to do with a program like that for Murph is you have to look at all these areas that are going to break down and make sure that they're bulletproof. So the run training actually probably be very similar, but the strength training for Murph is where it gets really boring for me. Like, I just don't want to do hundreds of reps of all of these different things to try and get better for it. But I think this other goal can help with that one, if that makes sense, without having to dedicate us to it solely and fully for that amount of time. And the Murph record is very ambiguous is another reason that kind of throws me off. It's like, oh, well, he partitioned this. Is it really like, does it count, or if he partitioned it this way, or he didn't partition or strict or kipping? There's so many different variations that too. The 500-pound back squat and 5-minute mile is more of a personal thing for me. Like, that's not a world record, right? It has already been done as well. But if I would like to say I've done that before I died, and I would actually really regret not having given it a try. If I can't do it, that's one thing. But if I'd really like to give it a try and see if I can do it.
Jared, I got those 13 areas.
All right, man. Did you throw it in Slack? I have Slack open now.
Yeah, I'll do that right away.
Awesome. So yeah, that's why Brian, Oliver, has there been any thought to expanding 3-block to other objectives like shred, endure, or strength? It actually wouldn't be that challenging for us to do. I just don't know if we have enough demand to do it. Sounds like you'd be interested. So, normally when ideas like this come up, we'll take a poll, and if there are enough athletes interested, it's something that we'll do, because it's not super challenging for us to kind of take that critical eye at shortening other types of programming and doing it, but it's not in the works right now. All right, good. I just didn't want to jack any of these up. So the 13 areas that we cover, and the reason I wanted, Marco, I really appreciate you sending those over to me. But the reason I wanted to cover them is because I feel like I mention them every time and I just never talk about them. Like, are they made up? Is this baker's dozen of like fitness things he's talking about? Are they made up? So we have strength. Now you guys are going to want me to explain them all too, which is going to significantly extend the webinar, but I'm going to go over them quickly. So we have strength, which is what you guys know. We have strength, speed. We have speed, strength. We have speed. Then we have muscle endurance, strength endurance, power endurance, aerobic endurance. Then we have the different energy systems, gain, alactic, pain, lactic, sustain, oxidative. And then we have mixed modal aerobic and mixed modal anaerobic. So these are all of the 13 different areas that we make sure that we hit every 30 days inside the hard to kill track. So one more time: strength, strength, speed, speed, strength, speed, muscle endurance, strength endurance, power endurance, aerobic endurance, gain, alactic, pain, lactic, sustain, oxidative, mixed modal aerobic, mixed modal anaerobic. I'm sure that's what everyone was looking forward to, but those are all the different areas that we train. ETA on replay for today, of course, a work emergency would happen. So I'll be sending out the replay. It'll go out in 5 on Friday, but it'll also go in the group probably within the next 30 minutes or however long it takes Zoom to process the recording.
I just have one thing real quick.
Yeah.
And that's, so this week we're in deload week. Every track is the same in deload week except no gear. So if you change tracks now, it's just going to be the same programming. And then fit week is also the same for all tracks. So change tracks, whether now, next week, sooner the better, instead of like Sunday night before the first day one of the new cycle.
Do not make Joe sad. Change the track now. All right. I think we are all good. If you guys have any questions, we will take these shenanigans. Oh, wait, here's one more. Weekdays, the best track to get stronger and faster in general. Best track to get strong would definitely be the strength track. It depends on, when you say faster, it depends on what domain faster. If you are talking about like long endurance faster and stronger, then I'd go endure track. If you're talking short duration faster, sprints and whatnot, I would still say strength track. All right. Yeah, so longer duration, I would go endure track for sure. That was kind of like Marco's emphasis, and with his form failure technique, you're going to see some significant strength training gains while also getting faster. All right, then we will take these shenanigans to the Facebook group. So go over there if you guys have any additional questions, comments, concerns, need access to anything, something was unclear, then go there. This is awesome, guys. A huge turnout for this webinar, probably the most we've ever had. Really appreciate it. And I want to encourage you all to challenge yourself in Fit Week next week. I know we've kind of talked about, even some of the coaches, we do some Fit Weeks and then, skip and then do the next one. I think that's a good long-term play, but don't let that turn into complacency for you. If you haven't tested in a while, test, guys. We got these new standards. I would encourage everyone to set some baselines and do this next Fit Week and see where you stack up. We've even gamified it in the app, so it's gonna be a lot of fun. So get in there and head to the Facebook group. Really looking forward to it. Thank you all for attending the webinar, being an athlete, being awesome. If you guys need anything, let me know, but I'm gonna end this one.